Friend, you're on.
Since as soon as you learn the alphabet, you're already training for this skill. It's a necessity for functioning in society and a benefit to your health. It requires no electricity, no technology, and yet it can take you through time. I'm not talking about sitting there zoned out watching television or attempting to do homework while sitting there on your phone. What am I talking about? Reading. Reading has multiple benefits. That is why I'm going to present to you why you should read every day, or at least attempt to. I will cover how reading every day can help improve your mental stimulation, reduce stress, and widen your knowledge. Now, I know some of you may not like reading because why read it when I can just watch it? Or I'll just wait for the movie, which even I myself have said before, but there's a lot you're missing when you just watch a movie. You're missing the analytical process of going through text and your brain functioning and working. By making an effort to read more, we can help our mental stimulation. It can help us all to think of reading as an investment, just like eating healthy or saving money for retirement. If you read now and keep on doing so, you're going to set your future self up with a sharp mind. In a study conducted in an online issue of Journal of Neurology titled Lifespan Cognitive Activity, Neuropathology Burden and Cognitive Aging, doctors studied 294 participants who died at an average age of 89. They found that those who engaged in mentally stimulating activities, such as reading, earlier and later on in life experienced slower memory decline compared to those who didn't. Findings of this study show that people who exercised their minds later in life had a 32% lower rate of mental decline when compared to those of their peers who had an average mental activity, while the rate of decline within those who rarely engaged in stimulating activity was 48% faster than the average group. You can help lower your mental decline just by reading and getting lost in the text. The benefits that come from reading are clear as day, and you're able to direct how you want it in your mind. If you still don't think that's good enough, then how about potentially fighting off Alzheimer's disease? According to Dr. Robert P. Friedland, the brain is an organ just like every other organ in the body. It ages in regard to how it is used. Just as physical activity strengthens the heart, muscles, and bones, intellectual activity strengthens the brain against disease. If you truly hate reading, then try to think of it like exercising. People hate to exercise, but once you commit yourself to it and you get on a regimen, it becomes natural. So, if you decide to read frequently, it can help you in the future. But what about the immediate impacts? Reading has a plethora of immediate benefits. A big reason as to why people watch movies and television is to get away. Life is stressful. Reading has the same effect that watching too much television can increase the risk of depression, while reading can not only lower the risk of depression, but can lower your overall depression. So reading it's the same as you get away, and it's better for you than television. Reading is a type of therapy. If you're really stressed out, just pick up a paperback. Research conducted in 2009 at the University of Sussex showed that reading was the most effective way to overcome stress, beating out the old favorites such as listening to music, enjoying a cup of tea or coffee, and even taking a walk. This data showed by monitoring heart rate and muscle tension, it took the study participants just 6 minutes to relax once they started turning the pages. Reading lowered stress levels by 68%, listening to music reduced it by 61%, a cup of tea 54%, and taking a walk 42%. Dr. Lewis, the head researcher in Sussex study, said, losing yourself in a book is the ultimate relaxation. It really doesn't matter what book you read. By losing yourself in a thoroughly engrossing book, you can escape from the worries and stresses of everyday life while exploring the domain of the author's imagination. Reading is more than simply a distraction. It's actively engaging your mind and imagination to the words on the page. It's an altered state of consciousness, which has no detriment to your mind. Okay, so far, this is about longevity, brain health, and healthy lifestyle, but you're still not convinced. You don't like to read, and you want something more. Well, how about being more educated and knowledgeable? Improving your vocabulary and being more empathetic. Everyone wants to be smart, and oftentimes we'll compete with our friends to how much we know. So how about learn from reading. Of course, we're all required to read for our classes, and we don't always do it. But on every page, there's information there. It doesn't matter if it's fiction or nonfiction. There's something to be analyzed and processed. People who read have higher GPAs, higher intelligence, and general knowledge than those who don't. Smart people read. So if you want to be smart and you don't feel like you are, then just read. There's the secret. Another big plus is that reading frequently will also improve your vocabulary. In a paper titled, What Reading Does for the Mind, by Anne E. Cunningham and Keith E. Stanovich, they looked at different types of books, television, and speech to see the frequency of which rare words appeared and the rank of median words. A rare word is defined as a word that is outside the vocabulary of a sixth grader. As is shown by the data collected, it is print that provides more word learning opportunities. Each one of these numbers is per 1,000 words. So the highest rated text is an abstract of scientific articles, which has 128 rare words per 1,000. Next up is newspapers with 68.3, popular magazines 65.7, adult books 52.7, comic books 53.5, and children's books have 30.9 rare words per 1,000. Now, we can compare those numbers to television texts of popular primetime adult shows, which have 22.7 rare words per 1,000, and primetime children's shows, which have 20.2. So adult speech was measured, which was college graduates talking to their friends and their spouse, and the average college speech is 17.3 rare words per 1,000. So if you're not training yourself with using a broader vocabulary, then you're just going to stay there. You need to widen the words that you use and how your brain thinks about them. Not far off from television, but almost doubled in even children's books and quadrupled in newspapers. You're just, if you're not challenging your brain and exposing it to better terms, you aren't really training your brain properly. You're just keeping it at current level and not letting it expand. Losing yourself in a work of fiction might actually increase your empathy. In 2 experimental studies, we were able to show that self-reported empathetic skills significantly changed over the course of 1 week for readers. Highly transported readers became more empathetic. Read more to become more human. Feel and care for each other by living through hardships you can discover from the text. You can put yourself in the mind of the person that experiences these things. Today, hopefully, I've convinced you of the benefits of reading and all the positive consequences that can come from everyday reading, which include mental stimulation, reducing stress, and improving your knowledge. Next time, I want you to turn on your favorite TV show and get lost. Maybe you'll try to pick up and read and enjoy that as an appetizer and see how you like it. Thank you.
All right, Nikel, what did you think?
I thought your organization was you did a good job with it. I think you did a good job with convincing us. You hit every single point, so I think you got to your last point where you're like, okay, well, I still don't like to read. I was like, I still don't like to read, but you convinced me I want to go home and read instead of watch TV, if I had time. You had really good citations. Everything was covered, and you cited everything. You had really good transitions as well. I thought your organization was really well. You did a good job with that. As for one little correction, I'd say, is maybe not read from the cards so much, because your voice you did a really good job with your voice. Just eliminate the card reading. But otherwise, I thought it was you did a good job.
All right. I like the opening. I thought that you set up the subject pretty well. You've got a very clear statement of what your purpose is. There's an excellent preview of what the structure is going to be. The supporting points are signposted as you get to each one. Smooth transitions for the most part. That sounds like it all flows very smoothly together. There's excellent research in the presentation. I thought that you did a good job citing your information and using what seems to be pretty valid data to support your conclusions. I think it's a very convincing argument in regard to the proof that you're offering. You also usually provide some nice visualizations and emotional ways to connect to those sorts of things. The kind of metaphor of thinking of it as exercise for your brain, and maybe nobody likes to exercise either, but people still do it. Well, tell you what, you need to do the exercise kind of thing and make it work. I thought that worked pretty well. So content, I think, is all excellent. It's very solid there. My reservations there are not even worth mentioning. I thought you did a good job on those things. The presentation things, that's where there's a little bit of fallback, and they're not big issues, but they're things that you ought to be. This is your last big speech, and you ought to be getting to the point where you just go, I got to stop doing a couple of those things. And the notes in the hands, like that, your gestures are incredibly limited because you've got the notes in your hands the whole time you're speaking. And Nicole, I think, also said it very well. If I'm just listening to you, you're doing a really good job. But when I look at you, it's obvious that you're having to look at the notes too often. If you could just 2 or 3 more run-throughs, and maybe you'd have enough confidence that you just need the one card with an outline on it, and maybe a couple of the source citations, because I know the data is a little complicated. There are a couple places. You've got that one section where you're doing the comparisons of all the different rare words. That might be a little bit tough to memorize. But I'll tell you what, if you were doing this in competition and you practiced it over and over again and got really good at it, this would sound really good, and you could get good at delivering it and be very effective. I think you've got a good topic here, and you did a nice job putting it together. All right, thank you.